Around the world, English is the universal language. But here in Japan, do you think that English is a well-spoken language? Hey everyone, welcome back to another Can You Speak English or Not kind of country episode. We're the hosts. My name is MJ.
My name is Adam.
And we're here to give you a great conversation that you can immerse yourself into, hanging out with me and Adam in our natural speed English. And just, have a friend to call your own and improve your listening with your friends. So everyone, today's topic, we're going to be talking about countries that have English as a second language. All over the world, I believe that most countries will have a secondary language that they study. Okay, so example, in America, Spanish is the second language.
In Canada, French is the second language.
In Japan, English is the second language. All right, there's a lot of countries that share the second language being English.
Right.
But even though there's so many people who study it, even though it is taught so much in the school system and even outside of school system, in Japan, you see so many commercials for English acquisition, English language, schools, courses, all these different types of eikaiwa things to help you improve your English. But it's a bit shocking because there's not so many people who speak English.
Confidently.
Okay. That's a really good point, Adam, because, we've met plenty of people here in Japan who can speak English. And I would say, what's the definition of speak English? How much? Is it just, hello, my name is, nice to meet you, and you? Would you consider that speaking English?
I guess so.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Because we all have to start somewhere. So even if it's a small percentage, it's better than zero. So recently, everyone, I took a trip over to Europe, to a country called the Netherlands, or I think in many people's eyes or ears in Japan, we know it as Hollanda. I was visiting a friend there who is actually French, and he speaks English fine, completely fluently. And he's living there, and I asked him, oh, do you speak any Dutch? How do you get around? And he said, the Netherlands is a country that has so many English speakers. He's like, I've been here 6 years and I've never met someone who didn't speak English. He's like, this whole time, I'm only speaking English. He's like, He's like, the only people that might not speak English are the older generations.
Interesting.
And it really hit me because how many other countries can you have that happen where you're not a speaker of the local language?
Right.
So you could just get by with English. That's amazing. And I did a little research and I looked up different countries and their ranking of how well they speak English. To my surprise, number one is the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, yeah.
I cannot believe, because he was saying, and even when I was traveling there and I was walking around, going to the supermarkets, trying to get food, I was nervous because I'm like, I don't speak any Dutch.
Right. Yeah.
Everyone spoke English. If I had an issue, I'd be like, oh, excuse me. And they'd be like, oh, yes, what's the problem? Or I remember I walked into this one store and there was a staff saying stuff and people were stopping. They're turning around, going back. Some people were going into the store. I'm like, what's happening? And I walk up to him, the staff, and he speaks to me in Dutch. Sorry, what does that mean? I could see him switch on English. He's like, oh, sorry, excuse me. So we were having a problem with our cash registers right now.
Oh,
and I was like, well, okay, thank you. And I just thought about more and more. I'm like, how does this happen? Looking at the other rankings within how many countries speak English well, what do you think, Adam, are the ones that are at the top? What are some countries?
The only ones that come to mind are Singapore, just because they have a English background, I guess. It's a British colony. Hong Kong is another one that was British colony. To have majority people being able to speak English, those are the only two that I could think of. Maybe somewhere close like Sweden or Norway.
You hit a few of those right on the head, Adam. So from this English Proficiency Index listing that I found, Netherlands is number one. Number two is Denmark.
Okay.
Number three is Sweden.
Okay, yeah.
Number 4 is Norway.
Norway. Okay.
Number 5 is Finland.
It's all up there.
Those are all the Scandinavian countries. That's not everything.
Why?
And then after that, Singapore comes in.
One thing I can think of is that those countries have like a really good education system.
I mean, that could be part of it. I've also heard of a ranking the happiest people. I think we're from Denmark. There's something about those cold winters.
Yeah.
You know?
A lot of time to study.
Yeah, if we think about, it goes into like their school system and how well they're educated or what ways that they study, then it's a no-brainer. Like, it should be easy for other countries to like look at that and say, hey, we want to improve our English in our country. Let's see how this country is teaching their kids English because their level of English is so high.
But like by your experience, seeing that a guy was able to switch from one language to another language without stumbling, I assume. And by stumbling, I mean, he didn't have to stop and be like, okay, let me think how I say this in English. Hold on.
Yes.
Just a moment, please. He was just kind of like, oh, sorry.
Bam.
1 second.
Grammar was great. The sentence,
and just went with it, right?
Yep.
Something's different.
So, very different. And that's the first time I've experienced that. I've traveled to countries around South America and Europe. Yeah, this was the first time I was just like, wow, I have no reason to be nervous. I went to the train station. I was lost, just asking some like random person, not even a staff. And like right away, they helped me out.
Wow.
I was walking around the street, like with my phone, like just figuring out like, okay, this street, like I have to, where I need to walk. And some lady stops by on her bike, some Obachan, and she's like, oh, do you need any help? I'm like, I'm okay, actually. Yeah, thank you. She's like, oh, no problem. Like, have a good one. Like,
wow.
It was such an amazing feeling being able to be relaxed, be able to speak a language that I know and do what I need to do. So this is like one amazing thing about English, everyone, or whatever, you know, if you're going to another language, if you're moving to France, like study the language because only good things will happen. And hey, maybe you want to experience Europe or move to another country and it's not like America, go to the Netherlands because everyone speaks English. So if we think about continent, not country, you would lean towards
Europe,
right?
Yeah.
Now, why do you think that is?
Just because they're so close to each other, I feel like if they want to go anywhere in Europe, they can take a train and it'll take like minimum or maximum like 3 or 4 hours.
Hop on an airplane just for like 2 hours.
Just for 2 hours. I'm in Netherlands right now. What do you want to do today? Let's go to England. Like that kind of like where we talk about, hey, let's go to Toronto.
European countries have taken English as like, especially over there, the universal language to get around because so many countries are right next to each other. And even though a lot of people in Europe speak like 3 languages like normal, one of them is, of course, their mother language, and then English is always there too. So there's so much opportunity to travel around to just speak English and to communicate with that. And if you're looking at places like, I don't know, South America, most of the continent speaks Spanish. So even though there's small differences in the Spanish that they speak, Brazil, of course, with Portuguese, they'll be able to understand and communicate. You know, it's like an American going to Canada or something, or someone from Australia going to the US. It's like, it's the same language, but there might be a few differences. But in Asia, even though it's like Europe, where all these countries can have different different languages, where's the secondary language, right? We found out Singapore was English, maybe Hong Kong, you know, maybe in Korea, Philippines, also there as well, with English. But Japan, an island country, no countries next to it, no bordering countries, it's just Japanese. So there's no need, I feel, to like study English so hard because there's not many people compared to other countries like Europe and stuff where travelers are coming and going frequently. It's fine to just get by with a low kind of level of English.
I understand that's true, but right now it's a little different with the amount of travelers coming into Japan. I feel like now is like a change. It's the what is it called? Nage in judo.
Okay.
The past of of Japan is like being naged by the new of Japan because of the amount of travelers that are coming from different countries.
Change is happening.
It's happening. It happened so quickly that Japan wasn't even ready for it. And it's causing tension between the Japanese people and, well, basically the Japanese people. You know, they're down for change and the ones who aren't.
I also felt a interesting like connection just like visually with people, right? Yeah. Something that is very basic. When you meet somebody, you look at them and you kind of course, give a little judgment. You think of what kind of person this is. When you look around the countries, the continents, then you can tell right away that this person is maybe from this area or not from this area, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the Western face in North America and in Europe, there's a lot of similarities comparing to if you look at North Americans and Japanese. Then there's a big difference. So I'm not sure. It's just something that I kind of felt where in Europe, they study the language of English, but I feel also some people who don't care so much, who have just so much influence from North America, either like TV or movies, that they'll pick it up naturally, as well as if we're looking at like TV and movies.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like there's a stronger like connection that the people could feel watching that, you know?
I see what you mean. Like the pop culture.
Yes.
Connections.
Yes, exactly. Of course, every country, you know, example like India, you know, Bollywood is so popular and there's so much entertainment based around people like stars in India. And there's plenty of people who are like, I want to watch that instead of American Hollywood or TV shows. Right. Because of course you can relate to it more. You can understand it more. So I'm thinking like, I wonder if that plays a role, if that's something that has some weight within the European people compared to in Asia.
It's a big question. It's all of it. It's not just one part. It's like, it's the environment, being able to go to different countries, experience everything. It's the exchange of cultures between the countries. It's the way they educate the people, like their internal environment. It's the willingness to be open. It's all of that. Plus, you know, they've been connected for how many years, whereas Japan's been closed for how many years. So it's like, it's a very big divide.
So, hey, if you enjoyed this one, thank you so much. You can check out our website in the link down below for a podcast that me and Adam do called the Next Step Podcast, where you subscribe and you get a new episode every week. 30 minutes of me and Adam talking about a bunch of different stuff, personal life, as well as different news happening in Japan. Great for listening immersion and improving your English listening skills. Let us know down in the comments what you all think of this topic, everyone. A very interesting point. And hey, if you like this video, hit that like button down right there and subscribe to the channel for more English immersion listening.
We'll see you
on the next step.